Denise. Hi, everybody, and I just want to say thanks for choosing to spend your lunchtime with us as we explore a little bit about the cognitive theory of multimedia learning and Web 2.0 tools. I am the online director at Darton State College, so I'm constantly looking for resources to assist faculty with building engagement and interactivity into the online course. I'm also keenly aware of how important it is, though, that we don't just use technology for technology's sake, but that we also ensure that the tools we're using make sense and have a positive impact on the learning outcomes. So today we're going to explore some principles of the cognitive theory of multimedia learning and see how free internet resources can help us implement these research-based and tested principles into our course content. Our goals for this workshop is to bring back to mind the basic theories of cognitive load and dual channel processing. We're going to explore a bit about CTML's principles of contiguity, signaling, and multimedia. And hopefully, we're going to add a few new resources to our technology toolboxes. The cognitive theory of multimedia learning, or CTML, is based on cognitive learning theory, dual channel processing, and limited capacity theories. You may remember that cognitive learning theories attempted to explain how the brain processed data and stored new learning in long-term memory. Excuse me. These theories propose that in order for active processing and meaningful learning to occur, our students have to sort through all the incoming stimuli and attend to that relevant information. Then they organize that in working memory and then integrate that new information with existing knowledge. Meyer and Johnson, in a 2010 study, claimed that the underlying foundation of cognitive learning theories were the principles of cognitive load and dual channel processing, both of which were based on limited capacity and active processing theories derived from Baddeley's 1992 working memory models. In their most basic form, dual channel processing and cognitive load theories simply assume that working memory receives information via two channels, an auditory channel and a visual channel, our eyes and our ears, and that working memory has a maximum capacity that can be reached and exceeded. So the underlying assumptions from these theories became the framework for the cognitive theory of multimedia learning. Advocates of this CTML theory believe that when stimuli enters working memory and becomes too concentrated in one input channel, so it's all visual or it's all audio, working memory's capacity is more easily reached or exceeded and the learning process is inhibited. Ideally, the stimuli, in our case course content, should be presented in a way so that it's evenly distributed across the visual and auditory channels so that it can be more easily organized in working memory, integrated with that prior knowledge, and moved into long-term memory, allowing cognitive processes to operate at optimal levels and meaningful learning to occur. Excuse me. Richard Meyer, the main advocate for CTML, conducted extensive research and formulated 10 key principles to assist instructional designers and developers of course content in the creation of our materials that would enhance the process. The principles were divided into three areas: extraneous load, essential processing, and generative processing. Extraneous load addresses stimuli that enters working memory, but that's not directly related to learning outcomes. Think pictures or sounds that relate to the content but add no value to the learning outcome itself. An example might be if you're studying how earthquakes are formed and you add information about the number of earthquakes that have hit the U.S. in the last 10 years. That's interesting information, but it doesn't directly relate to how the earthquake is formed, and so it's considered extraneous load. CTML's principles of coherence, signaling, redundancy, and contiguity guide our content creation to reduce this type of extraneous load. Essential processing focuses on the student's ability to sort through the incoming stimuli and attend to the relevant data. We use segmenting, pre-training, and modality to help us create content to reduce this load. And finally, generative processing helps the learner organize the information into structures and then integrate it with that existing knowledge. So we use multimedia and personalization principles to guide us in course content to reduce generative processing functions. Today, however, we're going to focus on three of the principles: signaling, spatial contiguity, and multimedia. The signaling principle focuses on providing cues to the learner, which are going to highlight and draw the attention to the essential material. We provide cues all the time without even thinking about it by underlining, bolding, and highlighting text, or by adding design cues such as arrows or circling important concepts. If you notice in this graphic that I have on the screen, I've simply changed the color of the word we're speaking about and inserted an arrow to draw your attention to it. I've also used a red box to highlight the process we're addressing in the CTML graphic. There's a really easy to learn Web 2.0 resource that can assist you in using this principle, and it's called Jing, J-I-N-G. Jing is a free tool that you download to your computer and then you can use to capture information on your desktop. It's really easy to learn, and you can set it to run in the background and then just activate it on the fly when you're working. So to capture a portion of your desktop, you simply then draw a box around the screen area that you want to capture and click. This moves the image into the Jing editing window where you can add text, arrows, captions, and highlight important areas of the media. In the graphic I have on the screen for you, you can see on the left that I've actually captured an image of the planets and placed it into Jing's editing window. By simply clicking on the text tool and adding bits of information, you can see in the image on the right that I have provided a cue and used the signaling principle to draw the learner's attention to the comet's dust tail and away from the other planets in the image. By doing so, I'm helping the learner focus on the data that is relevant to the learning outcome. BlendSpace is another free internet tool that you can use to apply the signaling principle. In this image, you see two examples of the same study list that could be placed in a course. The one on the right, created with BlendSpace, directs the student through the use of visual cues. We have numbers to direct the order of viewing, as well as icons to alert the student to the type of media that will be presented. BlendSpace is web-based. It does not require downloading, but you do have to sign up for a free account. And it's really easy to learn. And I believe at the end of this presentation, you'll be emailed a tutorial that I created to help you with your first BlendSpace space. Additionally, BlendSpace will provide you with an embed code so that your creation can be easily integrated into your website, your blog, or into your learning management system. And what this means is that we don't have to send our students outside of the workspace we've already created. And I know that in the USG, we all use Brightspace or D2L, so using embed codes in Brightspace is really simple. I have a video that I created for another event that shows how easy it is, so I would like to take a moment and share that video with you. Okay, let's take a quick moment and take a look at how embed codes work. So here you see I have my BlendSpace creation ready to share with my class. But instead of bringing them out to the BlendSpace area, I would like for them to see this within the learning management system and in line with the rest of my content. So to do that, I'm going to click Share. Now, if I grab this lesson link right here, this is going to provide a link for whoever I give it to, students or whoever, to come out to the BlendSpace area. What I want to do, as I said before, is put it in line with my content. So I'm going to look for the embed code, which is always with this symbol right here. I call the greater than, less than symbol. You see it says embed underneath it. So I'm going to click on this, and it gives me a very long iframe code. Sometimes it says iframe, sometimes not. You want to make sure you get the entire code highlighted so that you can copy it all to your clipboard. Once that's copied to your clipboard, you can jump over into your class. I've already, I'm in my live training. I've gone to Course Builder, and I've created myself a module called Embed Practice. This could be your Module 1, wherever you're actually going to put your embed code. I'm going to come over here now and grab the Create an HTML file and drag it over and drop it to create a new HTML file. And I'm going to name this one my BlendSpace. I can type correctly. And always be sure that when you're creating a new HTML file that you're also creating the pathway so that you can keep things straight within your classroom and you don't just have everything in the root directory. So at this point, I want to insert the code that I've copied from BlendSpace in line with this HTML document. So if you'll look right down here on the bottom right-hand side, you once again will see this greater than, less than sign for embed code. This actually will let you edit the HTML code. That may sound a bit scary, but I promise you it's not. So we're just going to click that, and we're going to see the HTML code, but what you want to look for is the first time it says body and the last time it says body, and you want to make sure that your cursor is placed in between those two HTML tags. At that point, you're just going to paste that frame, that embed code that we copied from BlendSpace, and click Save, and you will see that it will show up within your HTML file. So then we're going to say Create, and that should be created for us. So now when we come back into our content, and I click on Embed Practice and my BlendSpace, I should see that pop up right within there for me, for my students. Now here's one other tip for you. If you don't want this little scroll bar here within the overall scroll bar that's in D2L, you can come back to Edit HTML, click back on your source code where we put our iframe, and you can look for the width and the height, and you see right here the height. I'm just going to increase that to 650 and save, and it got rid of that inside scroll bar for me because it made that a longer box for me. And that's it. That is BlendSpace, or anything that gives you an embed code, put right there into your learning management system. Okay, great. And I just want to mention again that you can use this technique with any Web 2.0 resource that will provide you with an embed code. The spatial contiguity principle states that words and images should be placed next to each other to reduce cognitive load caused by the learner searching the page for corresponding graphics or text. We think this is a no-brainer, but sometimes we design without thinking this through. For instance, notice the difference in these images. The ones on the top increase a learner's cognitive load as they search the page to connect the text with the corresponding graphic. The images on the bottom of the screen reduce load by placing all of the text next to the portion of the image it represents. In the bottom examples, working memory is not having to search for the additional text or information to connect it with that image. It's done for the learner. The changes made to the bottom images may seem very simple, but they are also very effective. You don't have to have a lot of fancy software to apply the contiguity principle. You can do it easily with the use of free internet resources, and one of my favorite is Pixlr. It's a web-based image editor that has an interface very reminiscent of Photoshop, but it is a lot easier to learn. In this image on the screen, you can see that I'm adding the names of the planets to the picture, and I can also change colors, crop, and combine images with the program. And the great thing is Pixlr is web-based, it does not require a download, and it will save images in a variety of formats. The multimedia principle states that we learn better from words and images rather than from words alone. So to really understand this, let's take a look at our planets again. To the left, the planets are presented in list form, first in order from the sun and then in size. To the right, you see the same information presented with graphics integrated with the text. Your cognitive load is reduced because you're not having to mentally construct the spatial differences in your brain or search the page to connect the information with the graphic. They're integrated together. You can also see that applying this principle goes a long way towards making the material a lot more visually engaging as well. Just remember, when applying the multimedia principle, the media you incorporate can be anything, static pictures, animations, video, it doesn't matter, but they should always relate to the text and they should always have direct relevance to the learning outcome. So let's take a look at some other internet resources that are available for you. You can build infographics from preset templates or create your own at pictochart.com or easel.ly. Infographics are great for presenting material that spans across time, for comparison and contrast data, for associations, and for explaining a process. They're a great blend of words and images and help you easily incorporate the multimedia principle into your content. You can add multimedia to your content also by creating an avatar in Voki, V-O-K-I. You can choose and customize the avatar and your background, and then let your image speak to your students by either using text-to-speech or by recording your own voice. The free version of Voki does not require you to download or sign up for anything, and it includes an embed code so that your creation is easily integrated into your content. This could be a great way to get your students to pay attention to a newsfeed item or important instructions. You can use embed codes just as we saw with BlendSpace to enter your creation into your online classroom. Vocis are a great way, like I said, for drawing attention to specific essential information. One thing I do want to point out about this to you, however, is that in the video we watched earlier, we created an HTML file for our embed code. If you want to use Voki in your newsfeed, you simply open your newsfeed in the normal way and create the item using the embed code, that greater than, less than symbol. That will take you to the same HTML dialog box where you can enter that embed code, and your Voki then will be in your newsfeed in Georgia D2L. Then there's also Lunapic. Lunapic allows you to blend multiple images into one, or you can create a slideshow from those images. You can also add captions, crop, and other basic image editing features. And the one thing I really like about Lunapic is that you can set transparency levels with your images. And you can also make some unique cutouts with images as well. Again, it's a great way to apply the contiguity principle because you can combine images into one and reduce the learner's need to search the page. And it doesn't require that you download anything to your computer or sign up to use its services. I also like to remind everyone of the tools that you probably already have access to right on your desktop. I focus on Windows machines, but many of these programs are also available on other operating systems as well. I'm talking about Movie Maker, PowerPoint, and the snipping or clipping tools. In PowerPoint, you can use the tools that you're very familiar with to make any slide an image. You simply create your slide as normal, select Save As, choose the image file type. You can see here I'm just selecting a JPEG. Select either Save All or just this one slide, and just that quickly, you have an image of the slide that can be inserted into any content that will accept images. And don't forget, you can then export it and bring it up into Pixlr or blend it with another picture in Lunapic. Windows machines usually also come with Movie Maker installed, and a companion product on an iOS machine is iMovie. You can use these software programs to create videos from still photos, add audio, captions, and special effects. And the best thing about it is that the programs are free, and like I said, probably already on your computer, and if they're not, they're a free download. This type of program also allows you to be very creative in how you apply all of the principles of the cognitive theory of multimedia learning. And finally, don't forget about the Windows snipping tool. It's one of those great tools that are there that sometimes it's easy for us to forget we have access to, or the screen clipping tool found in all of Microsoft's major software programs. If you want to grab a screenshot and you're on your desktop, you simply click on Start Windows Snipping Tool. If you're inside an Office product, you look for Insert, Screenshot, and Screen Clipping. Once you select the tool, your screen's going to gray out, and you'll simply draw a square around the portion of the screen you want to capture and then insert it into your document as an image. It's just that easy. Okay, so let's quickly recap what we've done. Dual channel processing states that we receive information through two channels, our eyes and our ears. Cognitive load theory suggests that working memory has a max capacity that can be reached and exceeded. And when it's reached or exceeded, learning is inhibited. Web 2.0 resources such as Voki and Movie Maker that allow you to send information through both channels, our eyes and our ears, will assist us in reducing a student's cognitive load, and it'll increase learning. Spatial contiguity tells us to place words in the coordinating graphic in proximity together. There are many times when we're tempted, or at least I am, to clean up the graphic and reduce clutter, and instead of putting the words, I like to put A, B, or C, and then a key at the bottom. But I have to remember that that method adds additional load to working memory and could potentially degrade the learning process. So use the free resources like Pixlr or LunaPic, or create your information on a PowerPoint slide and save it as a graphic to assist you in applying this principle. The signaling principle uses cues to draw the learner's attention to the relevant information. Again, if you want to do more than bold or underline, you can use those softwares like Gene, Pixlr, and the screen clipping tools found in Microsoft programs to easily add these to your documents. And finally, the multimedia principle states that people learn better from words and graphics rather than from words alone. So remember to test and try out those Web 2.0 resources. They're free, they're easy to learn, and they can really help bring engagement and interactivity into your classroom content. So that's what I had to present to you. Do you have questions for me?
For those of you who have questions, you can either raise your hand, and if you have a mic and you want to try speaking, or you can put it in the chat bar. Renita, I do see that Pam, I hope I don't butcher your name, Cushionen, is asking, she said that she loves these tools and is asking if will be a list. Is there any way you could give us a list of these tools that we could share along with the document that you've asked us to share?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And let's see, Maxine is asking, she said she has some technical issues. Yes, Maxine, this will be archived, and Mark will share that link with you guys when it's up. It usually takes less than a week. Are there other questions? You can raise your hand or put them in the chat box. Well, Renita, while we're waiting to see if other folks have questions, how have you shared these tools with other people, and have you found that they have had technically, how difficult would you say these are to start using in the classroom?
Okay, I would tell you that Jing, J-I-N-G, that tool is the hardest part of it is going to be downloading it to your system. It then will set to run in the background every time you turn your computer on, so you can just click on it and then make that capture. It's very simple. Pixlr and LunaPic, you don't have to download anything or sign up for anything. You simply have to know how to upload an image to the internet, which I think all of us have mastered that part at least. And you edit and make your changes right there in that internet web interface and save the finished product to your system. So it's very easy to use, and they have help cues and tutorials on the site that will help you with that as well. BlendSpace is a little bit more involved, and that is why I provided the tutorial for it. And in the tutorial, I also provided not just how to create your BlendSpace account, but also how to then bring it into D2L. So that is all included in there. I think once you make your first BlendSpace, you're going to be hooked. My faculty here at Darton are using it more and more because it's more engaging for the student than a simple list, as you may have remembered from the slide. And it does draw you in a little better. It's a little bit more involved, but I would not say it's more difficult to learn. And I feel confident that the tutorial that I provided for you will make it very easy.
Great, thank you. There are some more questions coming in. So someone asked if there was a possibility of sharing your PowerPoint slides. Would you be okay with us including that also in the...
Absolutely, no problem.
Wonderful. Kit Carson said that Wix and Weebly are great tools for creating portfolios, if anyone's interested. I've used Weebly before, and it is super easy.
Yes, and I would add to that as well that if you haven't lately checked out Google for their the Google Drive for their internet, their website building interface, they have made some changes that make that very easy to do that as well.
Wonderful. Let's see. Pam asked, well, she said that she didn't have any other questions until she explores the tools, but this has been a great learning opportunity, and she's going to take a look at her teaching style and decrease the clutter. That's wonderful. I think we can all stand to do that now and then. Kit Carson said VoiceThread is great as well. And let's see, Chongwu Park asked if you had published anything about this.
No, I've done a couple of presentations. This one's a little scaled back because of our time, but I love talking about it. I'm pretty passionate about the cognitive theory of multimedia learning and how we can find those resources out there to connect with it. So my email is on the screen. I welcome anybody to shoot me an email. We can start a dialogue. I'm always up for sharing ideas and collaborating that way.
Wonderful. Thank you. What other questions do you all have? Beth is saying that she loves the ideas and she's shocked to hear about Windows snipping and clipping. You would think we all would know this. It's amazing how many tools we have on our computers that we don't really make use of because we don't know about it. And let's see, Kid is saying TED-Ed has a great resource that one can develop, where one can develop interactive lessons. Oh, that's great.
There are numerous Web 2.0 tools available out there. They're a lot of fun to explore if you can find some time. And I will tell you, if you like to just explore those things, you can go to Google and just search Web 2.0 Guru, G-U-R-U, and you can find a lot of different tools that he vets out a little bit, but that can also send you on discovery for some on your own.
Any other questions? Looks like maybe all the questions have been asked. Renita, we want to thank you so much for sharing with us. It's obvious that folks are really excited about the tools you've shared, and you will hear from us shortly, those of you who are here, with a link to the archived presentation and also some of the resources that Renita has generously agreed to share with everyone. And I think Mark will wrap it up by telling us what's coming up next.
Okay. Thank you very much, Renita. It was really enjoyable. Next week, we have case-based teaching in a digital platform with Joan Walker from Pace University. And then November 3rd, we have SOTL in STEM fields with Paul Emmons from UGA. So we'd like for you all to join us on that if you can. And thank you very much for attending.